Hi, I'm Maria from Nancy's Notions, and today I'm going to demonstrate how to make a little dress with a waistband that will have a positive impact thousands of miles away. Since 2011, Nancy's Notions has teamed with Little Dresses for Africa, a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to the relief and well-being of children in Africa and around the world. Together, Nancy's Notions have shipped almost 200,000 handcrafted dresses from our sewing friends like you. We have two versions of a very simple pattern that you can find by clicking on the link below. Today I'm going to demonstrate one of those versions, so come along with me now while we create a dress that you too could donate to the Little Dresses for Africa. One of your first steps needs to be choosing some fabric. Here I have an overall print. I'm going to do the extra large size so it's easy to see all the parts, so I've cut this length 38 inches long. I'm going to fold it right sides together, lining up these selvage edges. I've loaded a basic white thread into the machine because this part isn't going to show later on. I may choose to do a decorative stitch. I'm going to cut some armholes. There is a template on the pattern that you're going to download, or you can order these great templates that come with, especially if you're planning to do a lot of them. This is the shape I'm going to cut to form the armhole on the dress. And since I'm doing the extra large, I'm going to use the biggest one. So first off, I want to find the center of the dress. Here's the seam that I made, and here's the front of the dress. I give myself a little crease. I'm going to take that crease and line it up with the seam that I created, and then lay that out on my cutting surface. This template's going to go on the folded edge, which becomes the side of the dress, and I'm going to simply cut out this shape. And then I'm going to repeat for the other side. After cutting this off, you could also use it to create a cute little pocket for the dress if you wanted to. So now you can see the shape of the fabric has changed just by cutting out these armhole pieces. The next step is to take and fold 1/4 inch down on the straight top edge. And then I'm going to press another 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch to form a casing for some elastic. You can see we've pressed 1/4 inch and over about 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch, somewhere in there. And I'm going to just put a couple pins in to hold it in place while I stitch. You can pin the front and the back of the dress at the same time, because then I can just go ahead and stitch both of them. I'm going to top stitch this casing down by stitching very close to that folded edge. In your instructions, it will tell you how long to cut the elastic for the different size dresses. For this extra large one, it tells me 2 9-inch pieces. So that's what I've got here. I'm going to take a safety pin, and it's going to give me a stiff point on the end for pushing that elastic through the casing. A bodkin works as well too, but a regular old safety pin is very easy to come by. I'm partway fed through now. I'm going to just take a pin to hold that elastic to the edge so that I don't lose it inside the casing. And I'm going to do the same process on the other casing we created. One will be the back of the dress where the seam is, and the other will be the front of the dress with no seam. Now I'm going to go back to the sewing machine, and I'm going to baste the ends of these elastic pieces in place. So now here's what the dress is going to look like once that's gathered at the top. So what I need to do now is to create the straps, and I'm going to cover the armhole at the same time. So if you'd like, you can use pre-packaged bias tape, or you can create your own, which I'm going to do to show you how easy it is. So first thing I'm going to cut is a strip to create a waistband. That I'm going to create another strap with a piece of elastic to go through that waistband to give a little hack to the dress. And I'm going to use my bias tape maker, which is a 1-inch width, so I need to cut a strip that is 2 inches wide to feed through this to make the waistband. I'm going to take the tip of this strip and just cut a little angle off of it, and that's going to feed right into my tool. I can use a pin to get it all the way to the edge. I'm going to go over to the ironing board and press this strip as it comes out of that tape maker. Next, to cut some bias strips, I'm going to open the fabric up wide. I'm going to use the markings on my ruler to find a 45-degree angle from the selvage edge, and that's going to give me a bias strip. It's going to have a little bit of stretch to it so that I can go around the curved shape of the armhole without it puckering and looking funny. Slide that ruler over to the edge to complete that first cut. Now I'm going to use this as my straight edge to measure. I'm going to fold this big chunk of fabric in half along my new line. And I'm going to cut enough 2.5-inch strips to get 2 pieces that are 38 inches long and then another one that's the same to use for the waistband. So now I've got my strips all cut. I'm going to stitch them end to end using a mitered seam. And then I'm going to cut my links and we're going to put them on the dress. So now I'm going to press these seams open and then I'm going to fold this strip in half like this and wait till you see what comes next. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces that are 38 inches long to do the straps. So that gives me 20, well, let's go 40 inches since it's a bigger dress. And the rest I'm setting aside for now. I'm going to find the center of this strap and put a little pin in there. That spot that I pinned is going to get pinned to the fold here on the side. So if I open the dress up, I'm going to align the raw edges of this strip I just created. This with the edge of the dress. Okay, I'm going to pin this side and I'm going to repeat for the second armhole the exact same way. And then I'm going to go back to the sewing machine and stitch this on with about a 3/8 inch seam. So now you can see I have the strip stitched on to the armhole. I'm going to fold the folded edge out and away from the dress, fold the seam allowance towards that folded edge at the same time, and wrap it around to cover up those raw edges. I'm going to pin it in place, and I'm going to continue to fold and tuck in that raw edge all the way out to the end of the strap, and ta-da! I've created shoulder straps for the dress. I'm also going to tuck this in as I fold to hide those raw edges, and just like that I have straps done for my dress. You can see here my tie strip covers the armhole and it leaves me room to tie up here. So now let's decide where to put the waistband. If you have a child available, that would be the best way to put it on and measure it, but from the bottom of the neck of a little girl to her waist is approximately 9 to 11 inches depending on how big she is. So I'm going to go down about 9 or 8 inches from the front of my dress to mark a spot to put that waistband. Right there is about 9 inches. Now because the dress is already made, it might be easier for us to measure from the bottom of the dress up for the rest of the markings. From that mark to the bottom is about 27 inches. So I'm going to use my tape measure to mark myself a few more dots. I'm going to continue doing this till I've marked spots all the way around the dress. I am going to fold an end of this under and I'm going to pin it on along those dots that I made, going all the way around the dress. When I get back over to here, I'm going to fold the opposite end under, so this is going to leave me an opening to feed my casing through. If you would prefer that it tie in the back of the dress, by all means leave your opening towards the back of the dress instead. Reach my hand in there, so I'm only pinning through one layer at a time. Might be easier to go to your ironing board and feed this dress onto the end of the ironing board so you've only got one layer on top. So now you can see I've got my waistband pinned in place. I'm leaving these folds right about here in the center so that I can feed a cord through for the waist to get cinched up to be comfortable on a little girl. I would recommend taking your utility tray off of the machine. Take the dress and I'm going to feed it over this free arm. So I only have one layer of fabric on top and that other layer can slide underneath that arm part. So now I'm simply going to edge stitch along both folded edges all the way around the dress and create a casing for my strap to ride through. So there is my clever waistband. So now I'm going to create my tie. We have pressed this first in half and then folded both raw edges to that middle crease and folded one more time. I need to stitch them down, but I also need to decide how long to make it, so I am just going to hold it along the dress here. I think about that much gives me enough to tie, and I'm going to insert a little 6-inch piece of elastic in the very middle of this to make it a little more comfortable on this little girl's waist. Clip off that extra. Fold those raw edges in before I stitch. A piece of ribbon would work well. Again, that pre-packaged bias tape if you prefer that. So after all that beautiful pressing and stitching, I'm going to find the center and I'm going to cut it in half. And I'm going to get another piece of elastic and stitch in between the two to the two ends of that strap I just cut in half, just like this. So I'm going to get out my safety pin again and pin through the end of my strap. And again, like I did the elastic earlier, I'm going to feed this through the waistband so that I can tie the waistband closed, and ta-da! And there we have it. So this is only one example of a waistband. You can make this band as wide or as skinny as you want. If you wanted to put all elastic in, you can do that too. This way it is adjustable, so no matter what little girl gets this dress, she can make it fit her comfortably to her desires. So now that all this is done, I only have one thing left to do, and that is to hem the bottom of the dress, which is very simple. If I turn up 1/4 of an inch and another 1/4 of an inch, or maybe you want to turn up 1 inch and another inch to form a thicker hem, it is totally up to you. So get out your iron, gather some friends, and make some little dresses for Africa. So the dress that we made today, along with all of these dresses, are going to be donated to the Little Dresses for Africa Foundation, which is just such a great way to help out the children in need all over the world. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, hit the like button and comment below telling us what you think. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. We encourage you to show us your completed dresses. Feel free to post a photo on Instagram and use hashtag Nancy's Notions. Thank you so much for watching.
I don't have this. I'm bad with words.
No. I'm trying not to continuously crack up.
I hate to be a man that tells a woman to smile more.
Sparkling nails. Good. All right. You're stuck with those. Like, you can use pre-packaged.